Oh, everybody, and welcome to Roon of the Hidden Realm, Pauper, Dragon, Highlander. Yes, it is a day late, but what can you say? Roon was stuck in the Hidden Realm, exiled himself until the end of turn, and here we are. Yeah, I fell asleep yesterday. I was like, I should make that video, and then my brain's like, how about you just sleep? And I did. So here we are, a day late. But don't worry, next one's coming on the correct day. I'll make it the weekend like it's supposed to be. So, without further ado, Rune of the Hidden Realm. For 2 and Bant, that is 2 green, white, blue, you get a legendary creature, Rhino Soldier, with a 4/4 with Vigilance and Trample, who also has the ability of 2 and tap. Exile another target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, it's pretty good. So, you just, exile a creature and then you get them back. Pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, the main goal of this deck is to exile a bunch of things and bring them back. So as you can see, we have a bunch of ETB effects. These are all creatures, since his effect only does apply to another creature, and it can't apply to himself. I'm sure there would be a combo of something if he could, but no, it does not. It only applies to other creatures. So yeah, this is, I believe, the only legendary Rhino creature, so if you want to make your Rhino tribal, here he is, Rune of the Hidden Realm. That's the boy. So we got a couple things here. We have ETBs, which are the things we want to flicker. We have copies, which I'll get to. We have untaps, and we have flicker effects, so redundancy in being able to flicker things. Let's start with flicker effects. So obviously Roon himself, he pays 2 and taps to flicker something, but not immediately. It is important that it comes back at the end of turn. So you can't do this as like I'm going to do this ETB effect instantly. No, it happens at the end of turn. But it still happens. So regardless of whether Roon is killed, his ability still triggers, I think? Question mark? Nope, never mind. Okay. It doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure if he exiles a creature and then he dies before the next end step, it still returns under your control because of the way it's worded. Don't quote me on that. You might want to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So, anyways, redundant flicker effects. Cloud Shift. 1 white for an instant. Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. It flickers. Conjurer's Closet. 5 for an artifact. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. That's really good. Every turn you get a flicker. Or every one of your turns you get a flicker. Every round, that's a free flicker. Displace. 2 into blue for an instant. Exile up to 2 target creatures you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. 2 into blue for 2 flickers. Ghostly Flicker, the OG Flicker. Maybe not original, but I imagine Flicker effect came from the term Flicker came from Ghostly Flicker. And 2 into blue, exile 2 artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. For us, probably just creatures, but pretty good. Illusionist's Stratagem. 3 into blue for an instant. Flicker 2 creatures, and draw a card. Mismina Witch. 1 and either a white or a blue for a Kithkin Wizard 1/1 creature. And it has the ability for 2, a white and a blue, exile target creature. And it comes back under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So a flicker similar to Runes. But instead of it being a 2 and tap, it's 2 and then white and blue. Momentary Blink. 1 and white for an instant, flicker 1 creature. And it has Flashback, which means you can pay 3 into blue and cast it from your graveyard, and then it exiles itself. Nephalia Smuggler. 1 blue, singular blue, for a 1/1 human rogue. 3 blue and tap. Exile another target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Pretty good, ah! Tried to missed. Sorry about that. One and either white or blue, instant, flicker a creature. And then it comes back into play at the end of its owner's turn. Or at the end of turn. Doesn't have to be its owner's, but yes. Next we have things, so these flicker things, they want to flicker all of these things. Then you have untap, which is which are creatures that can untap Roon in order to let him flicker more than one thing. So if he has to tap every time he's going to flicker, well, you want to also have, I'm going to be untapping him more than once, maybe like once during, or twice during, like, so that way I can get maybe instead of 1 flicker per round of 4 turns when you have you and 3 opponents, now I'm going to get 3 or 4 flickers in, and that's just multiplying your power level by however many untappers you have. So pretty good. We have 8 of them. Captain of the Mists, which he's a 2 into blue for a 2/3 with 1 blue and tap to untap or tap or untap a target permanent. Kiara's Follower is you just tap it to untap. Nature's Chosen is an enchantment, which I doubt you'll be able to read that text. I can barely read that text. But it's a green for an enchantment on a creature, and you can pay 0 to untap the creature. And you can do it once during your turn. So, cool. Niblis of the Breath. Pay a blue and tap it to untap something. Puppeteer. Pay a blue and tap it to untap something. Seeker of Skybreak. Tap it to untap a creature. Thassa's Ire is an enchantment. It's a just singular blue for an enchantment. 3 into blue. Tap or untap something. And Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Tap to untap something. So, these all just untap things. And by things, we mean Roon. Roon of the Hidden Realm. Next, let's look at these other things. Aid from the Cowl. 3 green for an enchantment with Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. So, for 1, you're flickering, so things are leaving the battlefield. So that's going to be triggering pretty much all of your turns that it's out, hopefully. Second, you get to flip things, and since a lot of this deck is permanents, because it's mostly lands and creatures, then you're going to be getting a lot of things straight to the battlefield. And since a lot of those things also have ETB effects, you're going to be getting more ETB effects off of Aid from the Cowl. So just a whole lot of value in this deck. Panharmonicon, also a whole lot of value. 4 colorless, or 4 of anything, for an artifact. If a artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So every ETB effect happens twice, is basically what it says. And Woodland Stream. Now that should be marked over here. Well, yeah, that's a land. Yay, a land. It's so cool. Can go with all the 38 other lands. Copies. We have 4 copies, which are just cards such as Clone, which is 3 into blue for a Shapeshifter 0/0. What? 0/0? It'll just die when it enters the battlefield. But wait, there's more. You may have Clone enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So, you have Clone enter the battlefield as one of these boys, and he becomes one of them, gaining its ETB effect. And let's say you flicker Clone. Now, when he comes back, he enters the battlefield again, so you can choose a new one. Maybe one time you need ramp, so you choose Elvish Rejuvenator. Next time, you want to make a really big effect, so you choose Primordial. Cool. Great. You just clone whatever you want. Mercurial Pretender, 4 and a blue for the same thing, except Basically, yeah. Basically the same thing. You may have Mercurial Pretender enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control, except it gains the ability of 2 and blue, return this creature to its owner's hand. So it does have a thing where you can return it to your hand and choose a new thing, but because we have the flicker, it's not necessarily as useful. But still a good thing to have in case we want to just pay 4 to put it back. Maybe you want to save it for a second. Mirror Image, 2 and a blue for a 0/0. You may have Mirror Image enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control. So this only copies something you control, but still very good to copy. Finally, Vizier of Many Faces, 2 blue for a Shapeshifter Cleric. You may have Vizier You may have Vizier of Many Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if Vizier of Many Faces was embalmed. The token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. Embalm, 3 blue. So Embalm is, if it's in your graveyard, it died, something killed it, so it's in your graveyard. Now you can pay 3 blue, exile Vizier of Many Faces, and make a token that's a copy of Vizier of Many Faces. And he's now a white zombie and whatever you copied him to be. And now to the long list of 29 enter the battlefield effects. These all have their own uses, some of them better than others, and we're just going to get right to it. Acidic Slime, 3 green for a 2/2 ooze. ETB effect, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. You can just flicker him every turn and just start destroying lands. If that's not powerful, then I don't know what is, because eternally pay 2 to destroy one of your opponent's lands, take that any day. They need instant removal to deal with him. It's crazy. Banisher Priest, 2/2, a 1 white for a 2/2 human cleric, and enter the battlefield effect of banishing something, which there's a couple that have this. I'm just going to say they banish, which is it exiles a target creature an opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield, or whatever card it may be. So you just exile a creature, and then it comes back once this guy dies. So he comes in, he says, hey, Acidic Slime, not Acidic Slime obviously because he's an Nardak, but say an opponent played an Acidic Slime, you play your Banisher Priest, you say, hey, I don't like your Acidic Slime, I'm going to get rid of it until you can kill my Banisher Priest. But for us, since we can flicker them, we could say maybe play it early, get something that's kind of with it, like banish something that's like, that's not very good. And then, when he's threatened, you banish him, you banish the Banisher Priest, and then he comes back in at the end of turn and says, hey, you know what we should do? We should choose a new person to banish, right? Pretty good. Another cool thing, if someone board wipes, they say, I'm going to play Wrath of God. I'm going to play Wrath of God, which says destroy all creatures. Well, you say, I'm going to exile with Roon my Banisher Priest, and now my priest leaves, your thing comes back into play, dies to the Wrath. Then, at the end of turn, Banisher Priest comes back into play, and he's still there. I find that really cool. Brutalizer Exarch, 5 green for a 3/3 cleric. When Brutalizer Exarch enters the battlefield, choose one. Either search your library for a creature card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Put the card on top of the library, that's what it means. Or put target non-creature permanent on bottom of its owner's library. You can tuck any of their non-creature permanents. You can tuck lands, you can tuck enchantments, you can tuck artifacts. Someone plays a Soul Ring, how about Brutalizer Exarch? That Soul Ring goes to the bottom of their library. You know? It's pretty good power. Cloud Blazer, 3 white and blue for a 2/2 human scout with flying and ETB effect. Gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. So pay 2 to draw 2 cards. That's real good. Next, Coiling Oracle. Blue and green for a 1/1 Snake Elf Druid. When Coiling Oracle enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Okay, so it's ramp. Otherwise, put it into your hand. And card draw. He's ramp and card draw, all in one. You can't really get much better than that in a deck that repeatedly flickers him to repeat the ramp and card draw. Just power. Deadwood Treefolk. 5 in the green for a 3/6 Treefolk with Vanishing 3. He enters the battlefield with 3 time counters on it. 3 time counters on it. Not 4, not 2, but 3. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove one. And when the last is removed, he dies. But you can flicker him and reset the time counter. Also, Deadwood Treefolk. When he enters or leaves the battlefield, return another target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So, someone says, I'm going to kill this creature. Okay, well, I'm on a Deadwood Treefolk. I'm going to get one of my creatures back. Then when he comes back in at end of turn, I'll get the creature you just killed back. So, pretty good. Elvish Rejuvenator. When Elvish Rejuvenator enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, ramp. Elvish Visionary. Card draw. 1 into green for a 1/1 Elf Shaman. Enters the battlefield, draw a card. Fairgrounds Warden. 2 into white for a 1/3 Dwarf Soldier. Enters the battlefield, banish. Fiend Hunter. 1 white for a 1/3 Human Cleric. Enters the battlefield, banish. Fierce Empath. 2 green for a 1/1 Elf. Enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 6 or greater. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. You could get your... You get your Deadwood Treefolk. You could get your Brutalizer Exarch. You could get some of these other really good ones. But he's just kind of good thing to be like, hey, I want some of my power creatures because I'm maybe them later in the game. So I'm just going to get a bunch of power creatures out. And that's kind of card draw, basically, you know? Leonin Relic Warder. White for a 2/2 Cat Cleric. Enters the battlefield, banish an artifact or enchantment. So it doesn't banish creatures, but it banishes artifacts or enchantments. So artifact enchantment removal. Illuminate Primordial. Oh, this one's great. 5 white. That's an insane cost, but it's worth it. For a 4/7 avatar. That's pretty good. With Vigilance, that's pretty good. But this is the kicker. When Illuminate Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls, and that player gains life equal to its power. You know, this little card they call Swords to Plowshares? Kind of a commander staple. For 1 white mana, it's an instant that says exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Huh, that's a good card. It's in like almost every white deck. It costs like $1. So if also something to keep in mind for any of my decks, if you have $1 more that you're willing to spend to put in the Swords to Plowshares, go for it. They're worth it. I just don't put them in because the expensive cards I like to be really synergistic. But yeah, that's a pretty good effect. When you say, what if I got to do it to each of my opponents? Huh, that's a pretty good effect. That's a really good effect. But for 7 mana? Why would I pay 7 mana just for 3 Swords to Plowshares? What if I told you, then you pay 2 more mana and get 3 more, and 3 more, and 3 more, and you flicker him and flicker him and flicker him. Sure, your opponents are gaining a bunch of life, but you can just exile whatever creature you want. You can exile their command, you can exile anything, you can exile something indestructible. Exile. I love it. Manglehorn. 2 in the green. Wait, hold up. Illuminate Primordial. Also, 7 mana cost, you can get it with Fierce Empath. Like, Illuminate Primordial has got to be one of the best cards in this deck. This guy just, I imagine, just as soon as you get him out, if you can get him out and then also flicker him once, at that point, you're probably going to be winning the game. Maglor. Let's move on. Maglor. 2 and a green for a 2/2 beast. When he enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact. That's pretty good. Artifacts your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So, they can't use their mana rocks the turn they come out. That's also pretty good. Meteor Golem. 7 for a 3/3 Golem artifact creature. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. So yeah, you just start pew, 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 pew. Not quite as good as the Illuminate, but hey, if you already have Illuminate out, you pay the Empath, you search yourself on Meteor Golem. It's pretty good. Old Drifter. Most people, this is a pretty staple blue card, but 4 and a blue for a 2/2 elemental. Kind of a fish, but not technically a fish for some reason. He has flying. Why is he not a fish? Wait, hold up. I totally thought this guy was a fish my whole life. Maybe he's not a fish. Well, anyways. When Wool Drifter enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. You can pay 2 into blue to evoke him, which means basically you cast it and sacrifice, so it's like a sorcery. But imagine, I don't think in this deck you want to evoke it. You want to play it, and then you want to repeat it over and over again. Mystic Snake. 1 green, blue, blue for a 2/2 snake. Flash, and when Mystic Snake enters the battlefield, counter a spell. Now, this one's actually a bit interesting, because if you remember correctly, this is where it gets a bit important. Roon of the Hidden Realm. Exile another target creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So, if you want to counter a spell now, you can't flicker Mystic Snake to do so using Roon of the Hidden Realm, because the snake won't enter the battlefield until the end of the turn, which is way too late to counter the spell. So instead, if you want to counter a spell with him, unless you know for some reason that someone's going to play a spell for no reason at the beginning of, there's really nothing you're going to do with him in Roon. Like, he's a good thing to play, he enters the battlefield, but the main reason you have him is if you have these flickers out. You get, a cloud shift, because it flickers it and returns it immediately. So, that happens, and then you counter the spell. So, not quite synergistic with Roon himself, but still a good card. Something to keep in mind. Peregrine Drake. 4 blue for a 2/3 Drake with flying, and when Peregrine Drake enters the battlefield, to untap up to 5 lands. Okay, so you untap your lands, you flicker them for 2, you untap 5 lands. Assuming if you could untap some of the lands that have more than 1 mana, you could just be gaining yourself way too much mana. Let's just say that. You could. Now I don't know. I haven't found one for this specific deck, but I'm sure there are some ways with some untapped shenanigans where you can just make yourself infinite mana. Granted, this deck also has nothing to do with infinite mana because there's just no X spells, nothing like that. But hey, you never know. Maybe you want to infinite flicker. Actually, I'm sure if I had an untap that said that. Oh, actually, hold up. I just found something. Knowledge. Peregrine Drake. Let's say you played him. It's the beginning of your turn. You have all your mana open. Now you pay 2 and tap to flicker Peregrine. Oh no, it doesn't work. Unless... Wait. Thinking. That's it. Got it. Okay. So with Nefalia's Smuggler out, doesn't work with Roon because he's at the beginning of the next end step. So what you do is, Nefalia's Smuggler pays 4 and taps to flicker immediately, because his is not returned to the end of turn, no, it just returns to the battlefield under your control immediately. So you flicker Peregrine Drake, comes back in, you untap 5 lands. So you untap Azorius Chancery, which adds 2 mana. You untap, let's see, Selesnya Sanctuary and Simic Chamber. That's 3, and then 2 more. So that you have 6 mana, 7, 8 mana, right? So you paid 4 to... No, that doesn't work. Shoot. You know, I was getting this close to figuring something out. My bad. Well, think on that. Hey, maybe I couldn't figure it out, but I'm sure you guys can, because you're smart people. So, figure it out. You can let me know in the comments where the infinite combo is. Here's your little hidden quest for the day. Your second little hidden quest for the day is you should leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your families, hit that bell, make sure you're receiving all the notifications. Yeah, so don't forget, you subscribe, like the videos, leave a comment, do everything you can. Link. Phyrexian Jester, 6 and a blue for a 3/3 beast. Imprint. When Phyrexian Jester enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature. Not a non-token creature you control, just a non-token creature. And he gains power and toughness equal to the exiled creature's power and toughness. Okay, all I see on this is, well, pay 2 mana, flicker him, and exile whatever I want. Not exile target non-token creature you control, just a non-token creature. Any of theirs. Just get rid of it. I don't want it. Oh, hey, you see that, god they have? They're playing a Turfros God of the Forge deck. He's indestructible. And he's huge. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm just gonna flicker this guy, exile him, and make him huge. I don't know. He's good. Pretty good. Reclamation Sage. 2 in the green for an Elf Shaman 2/1 creature. When Reclamation Sage enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. So slightly worse Acidic Slime, but for slightly less mana. So, still pretty good. Rock's Meditant. 3 and a white for a 2/4 Rhino Monk. When Rock's Meditant comes into play, or enters the battlefield, as most of the other ones say, if you control a green permanent, draw a card. Neat. If you're flickering him, you probably have Roon, so flicker, draw a card. Sky Husarer. 3 white and blue for a 4/3 Human Knight. Maybe this is where it happens. No, I'm not really sure where it happens, but I'm sure. Okay, so flying, and when Sky Hussar comes into play, untap all creatures you control. So maybe there's something with flickering him, then also flickering him. You flicker him, and you flicker the Peregrine Drake to untap the lands. It costs you 4 mana to do that, and then you just tap you've tapped him once using the Sky Hussar, right? And you use one of your untapped guys that just tap, like Kior's Follower, which you don't have to pay mana. Now you've paid 1, 2, 3, 4 to get those guys, and you're back where you started. So 4 mana, and you just got 8 mana from the this thing, so you have 4 extra mana, which means you can generate infinite mana and infinitely flicker your Illuminate Primordial, because that's my favorite guy, because he just exiles a bunch of things. So yeah, you kill all their creatures, then you would flicker the Acidic Slime, kill all their lands, and they just give up. So yeah, Moon of the Hidden Realm, plus Sky Hussar, plus Peregrine Drake, plus really any untapper actually, except for the Thassa's Ire. So any of these, because their tapping thing costs less than 3. So you have at least 2 mana open to flicker things as much as you want. If you're not exactly getting what I'm saying, I'm sure there's someone out there who has put out the Room of the Hidden Realm ultimate combo. saying this because this is if it works, it's pretty cool. But it's a 4-card combo, and then also whatever you want to flicker. So I don't know. Think about it. Sphinx of Roon, 5. Also, cool thing. You cannot search for Peregrine Drake using Fierce Empath, but you can search for Sky Hussar. No, you can't. You can't search for any of them. Great. So, yeah. Just like it's a 4-piece combo that you can't search for. So, if you get it, good for you. You deserve that win. The game's been going on too long anyways. Sphinx of Roon, 5 blue for a 5/6 Sphinx with flying and ETB effect. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one of the piles into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So, yeah, top 5 cards. You just draw some of them and some of them die. Whatever. You just card draw. You're normally getting at least 2 cards a card draw. Oh, Stonehorn Dignitary. Sorry, my mouth gets tired. Stonehorn Dignitary, 3 in white for a 1/4 Rhino Soldier. When Stonehorn Dignitary enters the battlefield, target opponent skips his or her next combat phase. Yep, it just is. It's pretty good against something that's like it's against a combat-based deck. This is kind of combat-based, but more just kind of like value-based. Like you do some value things, like you draw a bunch of cards, you destroy a bunch of things, and then you just win. Kinda. So it's kind of control-y in that nature of just like, I'm gonna take care of these threats. And that's the main goal of the deck, what it seems like. Sylvan Primordial, 5 green for a 6/8 Avatar with Reach. So, another Primordial. And when Sylvan Primordial enters battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forged card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So, destroy one of each of your opponent's lands and get one of each of your lands, or their artifacts, or their enchantments. Pretty good. Pretty good. Tempest Caller, 2 blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Wizard. And ETB, tap all creatures target opponent controls. Tristani Summoner, 5 green, white for a 1/1 Elf Shaman. 1/1 for 7 mana. That's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm tired. But yeah, pretty good. Also, I'm not sure how good this hat looks. It probably looks disgusting to you guys. You're like, oh my god, why would he wear that hat with that suit? It's like, oh, so disgusting. Yeah, the entire outfit's disgusting. Like, you see the suit and it's like, oh yeah, he's dressed fancy. He's like, no, I'm wearing gym shorts. This is not a fancy look. This is my, I'm gonna look kind of half decent for YouTube, so I put on a suit look. which is basically all my videos. Yeah, Tristani Summoner. ETB effect. You create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, a 3/3 green centaur creature token, and a 4/4 rhino creature token with trample. So, a little bit of flavor. You get yourself a rhino, just like Roon, because he's the only legendary rhino that ever was, but there might be another one eventually, hopefully. I like rhinos. Rhinos are pretty cool. I don't think there's a legendary turtle, if I remember correctly. Although if there was, I would totally make a turtle tribal, because I love turtles. Village Bellringer, 2 in white for a 1/4 human scout. With flash, you can cast this spell at any time. You can cast an instant. And, ETB effect, untap all creatures you control. So, yeah. Maybe you don't want... So I guess it's slightly better. You can do Peregrine Drake. Or, not Peregrine, you can do Sky Hussar. Or you could also have the Village Bellringer instead, because he has the same thing. Finally, Walker of the Grove. 6 green for a 7/7 elemental. When Walker of the Grove leaves the battlefield, not enters, but leaves the battlefield, put a 4/4 green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Not quite the style of most of the deck, but I still think it's just a pretty good card in general. Evoke for 4 into green. You can set same thing as the Mole Drifter. You cast it and it's immediately killed. But yeah, that's the deck. two things to note. The two cards that are the expensive ones for this deck are Grand Harmonicon is like $5, and Conjurer's Closet is like $2. So some things you might consider having instead of those, I added a couple really cool ETB effect guys. Revelark, I'm sure there's real good combos with this. I know there's combos with it, but I'm sure there's something in this deck. Revelark is a 4 and a white for a 4/3 elemental with flying. When Revelark leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then evoke for 5 and a white. So, yeah, you get 2 things straight to the battlefield. Or no, yeah, straight to the battlefield when he dies. I know that there's combos with this that go infinite in a lot of decks. I don't think this one has any, but who knows? If you find one, you can tell me. Or if you see a cool combo that might work well with Roon. Yeah, about $3 for about $4. You can get Avenger of Zendikar, 5 green for a 5/5 elemental. When Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant token creature. Green plant creature token, 0/1, for each land you control. In landfall, when a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature you control. So, yeah, he just creates a bunch of power on the board, basically. And finally, Seedborn Muse. 3 green for a 2/4 spirit. And all it says is untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. Basically, you don't need to worry about these guys, because we have... I mean, you do want them, but like, those aren't near as big a thing as long as you have the Seedborn Muse out to just make sure that he's going to be getting his every turn flick or something. So, yeah. Pretty cool. These 3 are not in the official deck list. They are in the maybe board for a reason. These are cards that you maybe want to substitute in for some of the other more expensive cards like Grand Harmonicon or Conjurer's Closet. Everything else should be under $1, so it's a really cheap deck, except for those 2 cards, which puts it up to the grand total of 24, 44 for all near mint or light play cards from everybody's local game store, Card Kingdom. Hashtag not yet sponsored. Please sponsor me. Also, like, subscribe, comment. You know, the shameless plug, even though you're already watching the channel. Yeah, that's the deck, and of course I am going to show you without wherever he is, Roon. If you were to ignore the cost of Roon, and then look up the other 70 non-basic land cards, it would be a price slightly less. I think it's like about $1-ish. So from 20, was it 20? I don't know. It was like 22.44. No, that's 24.44. Is that what it was? Maybe. I don't know. It's $24 now. So you save about $0.50. Or I guess the Roon costs about $0.50 is what I'm saying. So still a very, very cheap commander. Not quite the 25-cent official Pauper mark of what most of the cards in the decks that we're working with are. It's not quite at Joven yet. We haven't hit another one of those, but who knows? Maybe in the future we will hit another one of 25-cent commanders. Hashtag shameless plug. Hashtag next week. Hashtag